Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate it. Very interesting topic, and I'm very excited to share the platform with SA Tourism, Department of Tourism, and SATOVITO. So for me, domestic tourism is often overshadowed by its more glamorous counterpart, international tourism. And I feel like a bit of a pariah saying that because that says inbound tourism. But I do think we've all learned over the last couple of years the importance of domestic tourism and having that market available when we have things like pandemics and lockdowns. So according to a recent tourism update poll, the industry indicated that domestic tourism is still a very valuable source market for them. 72% of the readers said that it is, and only 28% that said that it's not. When I consider domestic tourism, there are probably 6 benefits that I can immediately see. And that would be being an economic stabilizer, the bit that we learned over the last little while, when international tourists are not able to come, and that could be for a variety of reasons, terrorism, natural disasters, etc. Domestic tourism is something that can still keep the industry chucking along. Not maybe always as much as we wanted to, but it's still there. And I know that a lot of our SATSA members during the COVID period and afterwards said to me that they were amazed by how the domestic market absorbed the products and kept them going. It needed a little bit of a tweak on the pricing and the packages that was available, but it was certainly a great show and a reason for us to continue to develop domestic tourism. The second one is equitable regional development. Whilst our international visitors, especially the first times, is mostly Cape Town and Kruger, domestic tourism goes all across the country. So it's a really good spread from that point of view, from a regional point of view. It also has cultural and heritage preservation. This is often overlooked, but the more people experience their own country and learn natural, cultural history, etc., the better they are at their conservation efforts. So that's a big plus for us. It has a seasonal balancing effect where travel for domestic tourists happens throughout the year. Obviously, in your high peak seasons like December and April, etc., a lot more, but they do travel across the year. It's also a very short supply chain, which means the money stays in a very small area, which is great for localized economic development. And then the last one, which I really like, it's sort of a testing ground for our international tourism. If we're able to get tourism infrastructure and products ready for domestic tourism, it's much easier to get them over to the international tourism domain as well. But anyways, this is not my webinar today. We've got some specialists in the room, Melanie from SA Tourism, Maylene from the Department of Tourism, and Tato from SATOVITO. Maylene will start off for us to talk about the work that the department does, and I'm very excited to hand over. Thanks, Maylene.
Some initiatives that we are implementing in support of sustainable growth of domestic tourism aligned to the policy framework. So in terms of domestic tourism, then January to June 2020, we saw about 15 million trips taken. 2023, we see that for the same period, around 18 million trips. So, Mel will speak a lot more to the stats, but I'm really pleased to see that that momentum is being sustained. And I really hope from a sector perspective, we continue to support and drive domestic tourism. Prior to the pandemic, there wasn't a lot of focus on domestic tourism. I think we all need to acknowledge that. And slowly but surely, I see that creep is starting to happen. So I really want to commend SATSA, as Hanli said, an inbound organization, for really bringing us back to the drawing board, because this has been our bread and butter. And, we feel very strongly that it should be even going forward. So from a policy perspective, we've got the white paper, which is now a green paper as we've revised it post the pandemic. We've got the National Tourism Sector Strategy, and then the Domestic Growth Tourism Strategy, which we have done 2004, 2012, and a revised version in 2018. And all our work is required to align to national imperatives in terms of the National Development Plan. So it's economic development and job creation, rural development, and then, of course, creating a better South Africa and safer Africa in a better world. Thanks, Sandy. So in terms of the policy framework, as I've indicated, these are the guiding documents. And as a result of the revised domestic growth strategy, we established a specific unit called Domestic Tourism Facilitation, and that unit is part of my team. And that unit is specifically responsible to implement the strategy, and I'll speak to you a little bit about it, and focus on things like geographic spread. Hanley spoke about getting everybody away from the sort of traditional Kruger, Cape Town, not to say that we shouldn't go there, but there's so many beautiful places in our country. So we focus on geographic spread, seasonality, and then also trying to ensure that all our stakeholders prioritize domestic tourism. Thanks. So in terms of the strategy, in 2004, the key focus areas was increased expenditure, so revenue. Not much change then in 2012. It still remained a priority. Reduced seasonality, improved geographic spread, and increased volumes. In 2012, we looked to develop sustainable domestic tourism in terms of the market and growing the market share, and addressing the uneven geographic spread, and of course seasonality. And the 4 strategic objectives which remain today are increasing domestic tourism revenue, increasing volume, improving measures and efforts to address seasonality and equitable geographic spread, and then also entrenching and enhancing the culture of travel among South Africans. Thanks, Andy. So the domestic tourism growth strategy, as I said, we revised it again in 2019, and the new strategy is meant to last from 2017 to 2030. We all know we had the pandemic, so we are in the process of looking at what we need to, tweak here and there. So the vision for the strategy is to grow domestic tourism for sustainable tourism economy. The mission is to promote domestic tourism growth based on a culture of travel, innovation, stakeholder participation, offering authentic, affordable experiences and packages. And Hanley spoke a bit about pricing and adjusting and making, things affordable for our domestic travelers. And then through doing all of those, we hope to meet the need of existing and potential local travelers. So how we seek to do that, it must be a value-driven approach premised on a respect for our culture and our heritage, employing responsible tourism principles. And South Africa was the first country to develop the SANS 1162, which is the responsible tourism standards, adhering to service excellence. And we have the Tourism Grading Council, embracing sector transformation, which is very, very key. And for that, we have the Tourism Transformation Council, accountability of all stakeholders, government and private sector, transparency, and of course, integrity. Thanks, Sandy. So in terms of these strategic objectives, I think I've gone through all of those. So I want to now spend some time showing you in terms of how we intend to achieve those objectives. So in terms of increasing revenue, we seek to support the sector in innovating their operations, attractions, and offerings. And we have the Destination Management branch, which actually assists communities with developing tourism infrastructure. Maximizing the use of existing and introducing new products. I'll speak a little bit about that in terms of the niches we seek to focus on going forward. Increase in business travel volume, and I'm not sure if Noel will spend some time on that, but most provinces, of course, we too have the National Conventions Bureau housed in South African Tourism. And then importantly, particularly amongst previously disadvantaged communities, entrenching a culture of travel. Thanks, Sandy. In terms of the next strategic objective, increasing volume is differentiated packaging, so that we do have affordable and varied offerings, and reviewing conversion mechanisms. In terms of enhancing measures aimed at addressing seasonality and equitable geographic spread, we did do an audit of products across the country, albeit dated, and that's why in the next iteration of the domestic tourism revised strategy, we will focus on that. So that we can ascertain what is available and how, in which segments those are available. Because just before the pandemic, South African Tourism and as well as TBCSA undertook a roadshow both in South Africa and globally. And one of the things that came out very clearly is that our offering was stale and very much geared towards the luxury market. In the domestic market, we have various offerings, and we want to actually, if possible, actually do an audit of that, and then ensure that we maximize all year-round use of existing tourism facilities and assets, and then market to the different market segments that we have. Importantly, the next objective is entrenching the culture of tourism. So develop and implement tourism awareness education programs, and that's very much premised on social tourism, and then enhance the training of tourism product owners, employees, and also neighboring communities. So an all-inclusive transformative approach so that we do enhance and entrench the culture of tourism among South Africans. Thanks, Sanli. So in terms of the tourism sector recovery plan, I'm still now focused on the policy framework. As you know, we went into the pandemic, and the minister then appointed a team of both private and public sector tourism experts and stakeholders. And the recovery for the sector based on the outcome of the adverse impacts of the pandemic was premised on 3 pillars: protect and rejuvenate supply, reignite demand, and strengthen enabling capacity. For us at domestic tourism, the key pillar we focused on was reigniting demand. And how did we do that? Through various demand-driven targeted initiatives and campaigns, primarily driven by South African tourism, but also within the department. And I'm sure all of you are very much aware of the various campaigns that we've done, short left, and the various hashtags. Live again, it's safe to travel. South Africa is travel ready. Give me summer. We do tourism. So a series of campaigns were undertaken and led by our various principals and the sector to ensure that South Africans got traveling again. Thanks, Sandy. So the Tourism Green Paper, for which there's been a national consultation process, and for those of you who were at the really excellent TBCCA conference last week, it was fantastic, and I hope everybody managed to attend. Sorry, Hanli, we could just go back to that slide. The minister announced that the Green Paper has now been gazetted and is open for public comment. We did do a roadshow and solicit inputs, but there's still time to do that. And through the Green Paper, the key areas that we're going to focus on is increasing tourism's contribution to the broader economy. So we focus on volume and revenue, which are the key objectives of the revised strategy, increased employment and entrepreneurship. And one of the other areas I'm responsible for is enterprise development, and we do a lot of support for SMEs and a focus on women and youth. We have the Women in Tourism program, which I'm sure most of you are aware of. Enhancing resilience in the sector. And I must say, our sector was just incredible. I think tourism globally, showed its resilience, but the South African tourism sector was just fabulous. And how do we now enhance that resilience, capture the best practices, and make sure we continue to mitigate risks and innovate in the event that we're faced with similar crises? Research and targeted data gathering, that is very, very key. I think globally we've now learned the importance of data, and a lot of the work being done by SAT around that, enhancing data gathering so we can make better and informed policy and program decisions. Community engagement and ownership, that's very, very key, and I'm sure Tata will speak to that. We do have the framework for community-based participation in tourism, and that we hope to try and mitigate some of the safety issues that we're experiencing in and around tourism iconic sites. And that calls for a whole government approach towards community engagement. Increased skills development and financial support. I'm sure everybody's aware of the Green Tourism Incentive Program, the Tourism Transformation Fund, and to be launched soon again is the Tourism Equity Fund. Attracting tourism investment and developing supportive tourism infrastructure. A lot of work still needs to be done in that regard. I'm sure you'll agree with me, particularly at local government level. Sustainable tourism development. I've spoken to you about our responsible tourism SANS 1162 standards, which speak to economic, social, cultural, and environmental factors. And then, of course, an enabling regulatory environment. So how do we enable tourism to happen and address the concerns that you have? Thanks, Sanli. In terms of the Green Paper, again, enhanced market segmentation, making sure, travel amongst the youth to generate future demand. And when I looked at some of the priorities of the TBCSA last week, youth is definitely up there. So it's great to see that we are aligned. The feasibility of differentiated pricing, the sector was phenomenal in terms of how it responded to, pricing to attract the domestic market. And I hope we're able to sustain that. So I'd like to hear today from some of the participants, or even going forward, how we can sustain that so that South Africans at all levels are able to travel. The important role of government-owned products, and I'll speak to that a little bit later, the Tourism Grading Council and quality offerings. Our star grading system is really important and critical to us. Skills development I've spoken about, and I think we could do a little bit more work in that area as we respond to a changing and more resilient sector. Prioritizing rural and peri-urban tourism transformation, which is the golden thread that ties all of this together. And then, of course, skilling and upskilling women, particularly rural women, through our Women in Tourism program. Thanks, Sandy. So just almost at the end of the presentation, we are going to be reviewing the domestic tourism growth strategy. Not a full review as we've done before, but a research study during the pandemic indicated to us that we need to increase and sustain volumes. And how can we do that? The study indicated is develop affordable tourism packages and incentives. So what are the incentives that we need, to drive and continue the sustained growth of domestic tourism volumes and revenues? More opportunities for the development of travel experiences for the domestic tourist, an enabling environment for more persons to travel, and increased spending. Increasing the use of existing tourism products and attractions, while also taking into account that we need new products. But how do we enhance what we already have, and therefore understand what the domestic tourist is demanding and respond to that through the development of infrastructure? And then improved marketing, so re-energize and rethink current efforts. The survey done was very much, in support of that, saying we needed a refresh in terms of our marketing, and maybe Mel will speak to that as well. And then new and innovative marketing campaigns, which I really think South African tourism does well, and we've been able to see recently with our, although mainly geared towards the external market, the Sears of this world, etc. I think we are heading in the right direction. So how are we going to do that? DG will appoint a review panel, which will include the national departments, provincial departments and agencies, South African Tourism and other relevant national agencies. We have written to the TBCSA and SATOVITO and STIA, etc., private sector members, so that we have a private sector input at all levels, also to contribute to the review. So as I head towards the end, what are we doing around supporting domestic tourism? As I've indicated, we implement a comprehensive social tourism program, which focuses on seniors and schoolgoers, where we take senior citizens and school-going children to experience tourism attractions in and around their areas or close to their neighborhoods, so that they can understand the value of tourism. For example, end of this month, we will be supporting the Hermanus Whale Festival. The Western Cape Department reported to us that the train that, the wine train that goes to Elgin was actually being stoned by community members. And so we work with provinces to try and educate communities in and around tourism attractions, around the value of tourism. So we will be taking both seniors and young people from those informal communities along the route to participate in the festival, so that they can receive and understand the value of tourism. And then we had, proposed the development of a domestic tourism scheme. I'm sure most of you are aware, globally, incentivized and subsidized travel programs for domestic tourists, and that is still a work in progress. The campaigns I've already spoken about, short left, summer and Easter campaigns. When we look at, domestic trips, it's taken mainly in Q2, which is the Easter period, or Q4, the festive period. And today, Minister launched the summer campaign in the Eastern Cape in Hankey. And then we're focusing on niche tourism development. Thank you to all of you who attended our national workshops, and thank you to SATSA for extending the invite. We've got amazing inputs on gastronomy tourism. So watch this space. We'll be really working on developing a national implementation plan to support that niche, youth, and then of course sport. And my final slide, Hanley, I think, is the domestic tourism trade shows. This is something that we heard from provinces that this, our SMEs are taken to primarily shows such as Indaba, Meetings Africa, and also global platforms. And they necessarily might not be ready for that, or they cannot attract the attention of buyers who are looking for, 60, 100, 200 rooms at a time. So we are working with provinces in developing what we are calling now domestic trade shows, for the lack of a better term, and South African tourism, where we have a 2 or 3 day session in a province. And the first day is, we do a fam trip with buyers for domestic market. We then have a second day, which is where we have it in a mall or a well-traveled area, where we invite the public and we showcase SME or other products in the area so that the public can see what is available in their areas. Please watch this space. We have finalized the event strategy and support program, because events are a very key driver of domestic tourism. And there will soon be a call for proposals out to the market so that we can support events. I spoke to this when we did the Gastronomy Tourism Roadshow. Festivals, I see I've mentioned the Hermanus Festival. We've got the Calamari Festival coming up, DSTV Delicious. So we will ask, put out a call to the market for us to say, where can we support events where there's infrastructure and or just the event itself, and we will be supporting over a 2 or 3 year period so that we can really measure the impact and experience the highest return on investment for those events. And then the budget resort concept, I'm sure you're aware, we have a plethora of state-owned resorts properties around the country. Sandparks, of course, is the national one, but all provinces have them too. A lot of them are dilapidated or vandalized, and we see this as an opportunity to revitalize them and optimize them, and even create opportunities for SMEs and transformation, and get people traveling to these budget areas that are domestic in nature. So on that note, I've gone quite fast, Hanley, and I know you gave me only 10 minutes. I hope I've managed to keep within that time and just give everyone sort of a framework or background as to what we're doing at the National Department of Tourism to support domestic tourism. Thanks, Hanley.
Thank you so much, Marlene. You said something about a whole government approach, but I want to challenge all of us that it becomes a whole industry approach and a whole country approach, because that's really what is needed for us to really develop in and for the transformation to happen in this country. I can go on about that for a long time, but let me hand over to Melanie. Melanie, if you can share your slide and come up so long to see some of the stats and insights that we have from SA Tourism, who obviously has domestic tourism as a big driver of their the economic growth. Thanks, Mel.
Thanks, Annalie. Good morning. Oh, good afternoon, everyone. Gosh, it's so great to be here, and just based on Marlene's presentation as well, it's so exciting to see that there's so much happening in the domestic space. It helps to support everything else that's happening on the ground, and I think we can all agree that there is quite a lot that we can do, and definitely, Hanley, as an industry working together, there's so much more we can achieve. So I'm very happy to be here this morning to share where we're at in terms of the domestic campaign, our short left campaign. And I'm going to share some domestic insights with you and a little bit of a refresher on who we're speaking to in terms of the domestic market and the segments themselves. So we are unlocking the domestic market. Just in terms of where we're at from a performance perspective, Marlene did touch on it, but I think it's important for us to actually see how we are performing in terms of the domestic market. For the first half of the year, we've done very, very well. We've seen the growth with respect to what we've experienced as an industry during COVID. We're actually seeing very good, significant increases across the board. So from a trips perspective, you can actually see we've split the total trips, holiday and day trips. There's been a significant 23% increase in the total trips for the first half of this year, comparing it to the previous year, and holiday trips alone have increased by 42%. So we're definitely seeing a lot more South Africans traveling. We've seen a decline in the day trips, but we're not too concerned because we've got a lot of campaigns throughout the year that will help us improve on the day trips themselves. And I mean, we really don't want to discourage anyone by day trips because there is a real need for more and more experiences, attractions. We want South Africans to enjoy some of the stuff that we have, even if it is from a day trip perspective, because that is how we introduce them to overnight traveling. So we want to encourage all of you that have those amazing things to do. Adventures are very, very highly sought out activity. So, you know, we want to see more of that. Continue to bring those to the market, and we'll see the day trip number increase. So yeah, we're on track. We're definitely heading to exceed what our targets were set at. You can see at the top of the slide what the annual targets are. And we're excited about it because there's a lot of campaign activity that we've got planned, a lot of projects that will be rolling out for the rest of the year. And we know it's going to make a huge difference when it comes to these performance figures. From a spend perspective, also looking very good. We've seen an increase of over 20% for the first half of the year. And spend across the board, again, we've had holiday spend increasing at 14% and then day trips also increasing. The spend, there is a significant spend increase also attributed to the cost of everything increasing as well. So it's not all volumes, but a lot of it is also owing to the price increases that everyone's had to face, and we're seeing that across many different sectors as well. But it's still all in the positive, and again, really looking good, tracking against our performance targets. We do have a lot more information available. You must please feel free to visit southafrica.net, where we've got tons of research and dashboards that you can access for not just the domestic market, but all of the South African tourism markets. So let's take a better look at who the target segments are. Please note that these numbers would have increased slightly based on the population numbers that we are working with for the country population. But it's just more about us understanding who the segments are. Everything we do as South African tourism is informed by research. So there's no thumb sucking, we don't generalize much of the stuff. It's all informed by research that is conducted from our SA Tourism Research Division, as well as them working in conjunction with Stats SA. So we've got 3 key segments that we focus on when it comes to our marketing to the domestic market. And those are basically the defend, the convert, and the build market segments. Our defend, well, let me start with our build. Our build market is actually the larger of the segments, and this is basically South Africans who don't travel too much, don't spend too much on leisure spending when it comes to tourism. There's a lot of visiting family and friends, but there's a lot of awareness that the build market has. They are aware of travel, but the aim also from a South African tourism perspective is to increase that awareness so that when our build market moves to a different segment in their life cycles, then they are able to actually start adopting more tourist activity expenses. They can start spending on travel, they can start spending on overnight trips, but obviously we expect from our build market a very good way to introduce travel is through our day trip activities. So that's our build. A lot of them, obviously we want to introduce them to that first time travel experience. Then we've got the convert market. The campaigns that we run predominantly speak to convert, because the convert market, we're able to actually overlap into the higher end market who's defend, and we kind of reach some of our build segment as well. but most of the marketing investment is aimed at the convert market. This is the segment that is familiar with travel. They travel for work purposes sometimes, which exposes them to the various destinations. And then there's also a lot of travel with family, travel with friends. There is bookings during school holidays. Some of them take more or, one or more overseas trips a year. And, they basically travel more on a local level, and that is due to work. So the whole aim of marketing to the convert market is to actually get them to travel more for leisure reasons. So once they've been exposed to the destinations around the country because of work, it's now a reason for us to try and promote more travel opportunities so that they can extend their work week to the weekends, maybe bring in another family member, the partner, the rest of the family, but to try and encourage a bigger travel experience over and above the work trip that they are used to taking. Then we've got our defend market, who is our higher income segment. They are the ones that travel more overseas. They definitely book their trips during the school holidays. Every holiday, there's something planned. They're quite familiar with where we have, a lot of the travel happening around the country, which we touched on earlier. I think it was Maylene that mentioned we want to do a little more than what's typically done from a holiday perspective around the country. We don't want anyone to stop visiting Cape Town, Kruger Park, and the Durban beaches, but we want to encourage people to just look a little further and try and explore other parts of the country, because it's so diverse. There is just so much to do within our own borders. We just want people to start enjoying as much as we possibly can enjoy around the country. So our defend market are the ones that are more likely to start to explore that more, because they actually have become quite familiar with those typical destinations around the country. So we need to consider that when we are marketing, especially those of us that are not, marketing to a so-called luxury market. We're not only talking luxury, we're just literally saying this is the segment that could afford a luxury option, but they are also very keen on taking the whole family to enjoy a holiday experience within South Africa. So when we're marketing, we need to really factor that in, and remember that there's a spending market within the domestic market. So just to look at some of the insights, the next few slides are actually taken from the consolidated report of all our domestic surveys that were done in 2022. We do run surveys throughout the year, and this just gives us a nice picture of the 2022 behavior and activity of the domestic market. So the overnight trips, which means people stayed for longer than a day, we're seeing a very significant growth, and that will speak to 23 figures that I've just shown you as well on performance. But just from a 2022 perspective, we had over 34 million overnight stays. That is a very significant number. If you look at how that compares to the previous years, we've way exceeded pre-pandemic numbers. We're way exceeding 2019 numbers. There's definitely a great increase in what South Africans are considering now from a local holiday perspective. So people are taking up more activity. They're enjoying more overnight accommodation. We obviously need to give a little more attention to the day trip stuff, but we are seeing day trip activities happening anyway. People are enjoying day trip activities, whether it's part of the overnight stay or just as an actual day out with the family. Day trip activities, like I mentioned earlier, it's been declining, but we are still hopeful. We are feeling very positive about what the campaigns will do, because we are driving more strongly a message about letting South Africans enjoy things that they can do without necessarily going away. So we want them to eventually go away, but I think it's important for us to also educate ourselves on how much impact there is on experiencing a day trip activity and how much that can influence a decision to go back and extend that to an overnight stay. This is a nice view of where the locals are coming from and where they are going to. So the province that most of our travelers come from, we've known Gauteng's been the biggest source market for a long period. It's been for the longest time. Most of the people traveling around the country are coming from the Gauteng area. We also then have quite a large number coming from Limpopo and then from the Eastern Cape. So it's been quite similar, tracking quite similar for the last few years, but we have seen increases across the country. So it's still, again, positive because we're seeing growth across the board. From a destination province perspective, KZN, the highest visited, and it's like was mentioned earlier, the highest period to visit is during the December period. So during the hotter months, which is why people are heading straight to the beach. So that's how we can interpret the KZN numbers. Not to say there's not a whole lot of other experiences in KZN. You'll find that there's a lot in addition to the beaches, and that's the same can be said for the rest of the provinces. We've got quite a big number of locals visiting Gauteng. And then we've also got the Eastern Cape and Limpopo not far behind. So the numbers appear to be quite similar, but there's a lot of reasons for people to travel around the country, and the next few slides are going to just give us a better indication of that. So the total bed nights, we've covered that. It was quite a big number of overnight stays that South Africans are enjoying. Previously, the longer periods were, the average was around 4 nights. It's come down to around 3 nights now for the last few years. But just looking at those total bed nights and then the overall spending, I mean, it's encouraging to see how, everything is growing. The numbers are growing. So it's like Haneli had opened with earlier, that the domestic market has so much to offer us from an industry perspective. It's just really about understanding what people enjoy. We need to really look at how we interpret the insights and the research that South African tourism has available, because there are potential areas that different packages speak to. There's people are looking for different things. It's not a one-size-fits-all when it comes to the domestic market. So we need to really examine what people are enjoying and also how we can reach them, which is what this particular slide will help us achieve. The digital platform, the marketing that comes along with it is so important. We cannot stress anymore how important it is, because any kind of research, anything you hear out in the media, we have to embrace what is going on from a digital perspective. Our local market, as much as everyone else around the world, is really into social media. First and foremost, from a South African perspective, we know how we are. We like talking, we listen to people, we actually rely quite heavily on what friends and family have to say, what neighbors have to say, colleagues, where they've been, what they've done. And that, in addition to social media, is where the South Africans get their information and where they get the recommendations from. So people listen to others, and social media is part of that. So it's very highly used. At 63%, listening to family and friends, and then quite closely at 54%, that is where the South African market is getting to hear about what their next holiday experience is going to be. So we need to factor that in again from a marketing perspective. Don't ignore the actual potential that social media has and the value it can add to how you're going to reach the local market. We use it very extensively from a short-lived perspective. We've got a very good following, and we use our social media and a lot of the digital platforms quite heavily because we know that's where we can reach the South African market. From a booking perspective, a lot of South Africans are still using online travel platforms to book. So it's also important, if, you know, obviously it's about what's affordable for you as a business, but to be able to align yourself with booking platforms. There are different types that come at different costs. Not forgetting your short-lived platform, which comes at absolutely no cost. You must take advantage of the platform. We promote whatever you have available from a holiday and travel perspective for free, but you also you should be paying attention to the other opportunities that are available out there, because from a research perspective and a booking perspective, these are the platforms that South Africans are looking at. So social media, family and friends, very, very important. So they're not just researching and they're not just booking, they are sharing quite extensively as well, using social media and personal contact as well. So that's us being South African again. We have to make contact. We like to hear it from people. But just looking at the figures, the channels that they are using, specifically while they are sharing, 72% are sharing on social media, 49% are in person and telephonic conversations, 25% people are actually looking at travel review websites and they're following online news, blogs, etc. At least 24% of them. So those are big numbers. That's the kind of stuff that we want to track. We want to consider all of this when we are busy planning our own marketing and where we want to be seen and how we're going to be promoting our travel packages and our businesses. The channels they're using to share their experiences once they've completed their experience, their holiday, their trip is over, they're using 64% on social media, still very high, 49% are using person-to-person and telephonic conversations. And travel review websites and online news are still very much there when it comes to sharing experiences. So you want to be there when they're sharing experiences. You know, you want to also be online. You want to be using digital platforms so that you're part of the conversation. Some of the reasons that people are actually, the reasons they choose to travel. The top two reasons are visiting friends and relatives and to actually take a holiday. And from 2019 to 2022, we have noticed that the visiting family and friends has dropped slightly. But also, if you just, you know, have conversations and look more closely to some of the research that we have, from the research, the extensive survey and research focus groups that we did in 2016 until recently, still, our South Africans do enjoy visiting family and friends, but a lot of them continue to do so, but they're not necessarily staying with family and friends. They're choosing to actually pay for accommodation, and they are doing a lot more of the holiday experiences during that stay. So it's with the family. Sometimes it's to take a break from the family because apparently it's a lot of work to visit family and friends, and it's not all holiday. So people are now choosing to do quite a lot away from just staying with family and friends. And that's also something that we need to consider, because it also has a lot to do with the travel periods that people are supposedly visiting family and friends, but there's a mix of quite a bit of actual tourist activity that's taking place. There's a snapshot of the demographics in terms of who's traveling and how many of the different groups are actually traveling through 2022 from 2019. You can see the numbers are quite similar. There hasn't been much drastic change in that. So it just means as well that the marketing that we're doing is we're speaking to the same traveling market that we looked at earlier in terms of the segments. I'm not going to go into each of these. Here are 11 reasons that people are saying that they're traveling, they will choose to travel around the country. The first one is to explore more of South Africa because my country has so much to offer. And we definitely mustn't forget that. We have such a diverse offering in South Africa that can speak to anybody's interests. You know, we can really appeal to the entire family, to every age group, to just a wide range of what's available around the country. Let's look at another one. I travel within South Africa as the money I spend on trips benefits my country and my community. Number 6, I do not have the budget to allow me to travel outside of South Africa. I prefer traveling to places that are close to my home. I worry about how I may be treated in another country. I don't have sufficient time to travel outside of South Africa. I prefer taking shorter, more frequent trips within the country. I think that one's quite important because that gives us the opportunity to promote our day trips as well as our quick weekends away. South Africans love taking weekends away, so that's definitely something that we must keep in mind. And then our preferred reasons to travel. What are they doing when they travel? The preferred reasons to actually take that trip, 42% say it's to explore beautiful scenery, 31% relaxing on the beach, 28% visiting family and relatives. And we know now that that's not just visiting and hanging out at the house. It's a lot of other activity going on. 25% engage in a variety of activities. 20% go on safari. And we note that 94% of South Africans are planning to travel around the country in the future, with 87% planning their domestic trip in the next 12 months. So that's us. That's what we're looking for. We must be prepared now to see South Africans travel more and more around the country, and we need to offer them more that gives them reason to travel around the country. The reasons they're not traveling, we have to also keep in mind. They've got other higher priority expenses, not enough time, they can't find affordable accommodation, health issues, 10% find it difficult to find information, 10% have concerns for their personal safety, and then it just goes all the way from bad climate, afraid of civil unrest, and find it hard to book transport. So that might be something we want to investigate further as an industry. So yeah, those are the reasons they travel, and those are the reasons they are choosing not to travel. Those are the parts that we can actually give more attention and try and address as an industry. Also, Haneli and Maylene have mentioned this. I think we know this. South Africans travel during the Easter period, which is during the March, April, predominantly April. And then it's in September as we start getting into the warmer months, and December. So we know these are the peak travel periods during the year. It's not only peak for South Africans. Obviously, this is now when we need to consider that South Africans do want to travel during the warmer periods. And something that's happened frequently in the past, which we're really hoping to change as an industry, is that we're packaging for locals to to cover our low seasons. So we're able to reduce pricing obviously during low season, but we're really only looking at offering South Africans really good packages during the low seasons. But we should be looking at giving something that they can also enjoy during the peak seasons, because that is when South Africans want to travel. So the more we give them as options to consider, the more volumes we are going to sell within our tourism industry. So we need to really consider this when we're planning, our marketing and so on, and when we're planning our packages, because we can't only offer South Africans low season packages. I, as a South African, I want to also enjoy the country during the peak season. I don't only want to go and, enjoy or try to enjoy a trip away with the family because the only time I can afford it is during winter. I think we really need to give more attention to the kind of packages that we are offering South Africans, and when we're allowing them to take up those packages. The domestic key trends that have been identified: South Africans enjoy road trips. So drivable destinations are their top choice, with experiences or tours popular for 46% of the people that we've surveyed. Road trips are high on the list. It's one of the favorite things to do. We need to continue promoting road trips. We need to package road trips. Remember, there's a lot you can do if you're packaging a road trip. There's that whole route to the main destination that you can find things to do. And it's also important for us to share with South Africans. Don't assume everyone knows everything about the country. When you're planning your packaging, when you're looking at what you are going to sell them, you need to factor in the condition of the roads. If there is a dirt road that has to be taken to your establishment, put that in, at some point it needs to be available. The information must be available. There are 3 kilometers of dirt road, and, give them the best of what they can look forward to when they've crossed that dirt road. Any kind of safety issues that they might have to face on their way to your establishment, any beautiful things they may have to face, try and include as much as you possibly can to make it a real journey. So the whole journey is the experience, and you'll get a lot more value out of that because people will have a lot more to look forward to. From a marketing and sustainability perspective, marketing 19% and sustainability 19% of those surveyed say it is the top investment priority, specifically for travel professionals. And I think it was important, Maylene also mentioned the Green Incentive Program, and some of the marketing opportunities that we have available to you from a South African tourism perspective. We need to take advantage of those. They are there for you, and it's up to you to actually access them. I'm pretty sure, as it is with Short Left on the NDT side as well, if you need support, there's always someone that will help you complete the process and, to be able to utilize the platforms that are being made available to you. Continued marketing is so important. You can't actually, a lot of people can manage maybe relying on word of mouth, but I think it's so important for us to continuously market ourselves and, promote what we are offering. And don't just promote in isolation. Work with the industry, collaborate with neighboring activities, or if you're an activity, collaborate with your neighboring accommodation establishments. Work together so that we have, even more enticing packages to offer South Africans. And by working together, you'll find that you can actually make them more affordable as well. From a reviews perspective, we saw a lot of South Africans look at travel review websites, etc. South African travelers, they value customer reviews. So they like to hear what other people have to say about things. With 69% of South African professionals, 69% respond to South African professionals that actually respond to negative reviews. So if somebody has something really bad to say about your establishment and you respond and you explain yourself in a way that encourages them to actually come back and speak more positively about you, other South Africans appreciate that, basically. So it's important for us to also make sure that if we are being reviewed, if there's a lot of activity on TripAdvisor, etc., and our establishments are featuring, we need to make sure that we are responding and that we're keeping the communication lines open, because it obviously has a role to play in the decisions that are being made. Always on from a digital perspective, we mentioned that earlier as well. Digital is so important. 59% of South Africans are finding their inspiration to travel on digital platforms. So social media is very key to where they look to find their inspiration. 70% emphasize that they are price checking online. So that's where they're going. They're checking all the different websites to see where they can get their best prices, and that's how they're making their decisions. Always on social media and online platforms are where they are actually looking for their deals, their best deals. Online is where they're finding them. Loyalty programs has come up. 60% of South Africans are very concerned about inflation, and a lot of them are turning to their loyalty program benefits. And why is this important to us as an industry? I think if there's any possibility that you have to align yourself with the loyalty program, you know, there are opportunities. There are many, many major loyalty programs that I'm sure would welcome conversations with all our amazing product owners that we have within this industry. And there are a lot of people that benefit from it. So it's not just about airline tickets and some of the larger hotel chains, but I think there's an opportunity for a lot of other you know, experiences, attractions that can benefit from what loyalty programs are offering South Africans, because that's also one of the ways that we are managing to save and get more bang for our buck. From a self-care perspective, I think we've seen it in a lot of the research following the pandemic. People started paying a lot more attention to their own self-care. Nearly 46% say that travel is now more important to them than it was before the pandemic. South Africans are looking at travel as a form of relaxation. There's a lot of wellness and your yoga retreats and so on that are featuring more in how people are choosing what they want to do from a travel perspective. And this is how people are learning to cope with the stresses that we are all dealing with. So we are not just that next holiday experience that people are looking for. People are really looking to travel to help relax and take care of themselves. So from a short left perspective, if anyone wants to ask anything in terms of those insights, please feel free. Hanneli, you're going to have to direct me on that. I don't think I can see any questions or anything.
We've got some questions, and I think we'll save them for the questions and answers. And
Okay.
Gershel does have his hand up, but Gershel, we'll get back to you.
Okay. I don't mind either way. So collaboration, I think we all know, is very, very key. If we are going to see our industry survive and become sustainable, from a growth perspective, we need to ensure that collaboration is part of what we do as our everyday business. From a short-lived perspective, this is how we try to encourage all of you that are on board. If you are participating and making use of the short-lived platform, if you are following us, whatever the case is, we want you to collaborate with us and with the rest of the industry. And you can do this by taking advantage of the short-lived platform. And why I say platform is because we have the website where your packages, all your travel deals are promoted, displayed beautifully on our short-lived website. And then you have our trade platform where you actually get to add all of those travel deals. So we want you to take advantage of these platforms because it's free, and a lot of companies, we know because of our interaction with the industry, some companies don't have a marketing budget. Short-lived is your answer to your marketing. So if you're still getting to a place where you are not quite ready to work with your own dedicated marketing budget and marketing plan, a lot of companies rely on short-lived to do that marketing. So we really are encouraging you to take advantage of that. We support you throughout the process. You can contact us on a dedicated email, shortlived@southafrica.net. The full team is there. So if you need any support, whether it's about how to get involved or questions about what sort of packages, maybe you need to understand the market, or it's, you know, technically getting yourself registered and involved on the platform, please feel free to email us. With projects like today, this webinar, we're constantly collaborating with our friends, SATSA, with our provincial partners, and with the private sector at large. So, you know, whatever it is you want to discuss, please feel free to talk to us about it. You might have an idea, or you might just have a question. We're here to work with all of you within the industry. We take advantage of these opportunities to share information and to give you these campaign updates, because there's always something happening. You heard Maylene, you heard Haneli. We're always all looking for opportunities and platforms that we can collaborate on, us as industry stakeholders with you as the rest of the industry. So when you hear we're having update sessions, please, you have to continue to attend. Today's been phenomenal. The numbers are really good. Yeah, so a lot of our short-lived campaign is very driven by extensive marketing. Everything we do throughout the year, it's extensive marketing, and that is what we do. Our investment is in marketing. We are the marketing arm for the Department of Tourism to promote South Africa as a destination, and our role as short-lived is to do that for locals. So that's where the money goes. And then just a quick snapshot of what we do from a campaign perspective. We had campaigns throughout the year. So like I said, these are run on the various marketing platforms. You should have at some point come in contact with a short-lived ad or a social media post or something relating to the short-lived campaign. We are always on throughout the year. So we always actively engaging on social media. We've got our Easter campaign that we run pre-Easter and during Easter, which with every single one of these campaigns, they're all deal-driven campaigns. So we cannot have a campaign without the rest of you participating. What we do as short-lived is give South Africans options to travel. So we rely on you to participate in order for us to actually grow the domestic traveling numbers, to make sure South Africans continue to increase in terms of traveling around the country. So this is basically what the year looks like from a short-lived perspective. We have smaller campaigns that we run for Valentine's and winter, but they are still very much there on digital. And then what we have coming up is our summer campaign, which was launched in conjunction with the department today, which we call Gimme Some of That Short-Lived. And that usually runs, we will be launching it from a media perspective from the 1st of October, and it runs all the way until the end of Jan-Feb. And then we've just completed our short-lived travel week. This is our flagship campaign. And I just want to take this opportunity to thank everybody who participated. The participation was phenomenal. And I'm going to actually show you some of the results that we had for Travel Week. If you haven't yet participated, you're missing out. This is basically the 3 key campaigns. This is just a little view of what our creative looks like. We've got our Easter campaign, which we referred to in the last few years as Set Your Table Anywhere in Mzansi. It's basically seat at the table. And we encourage South Africans to, as they like to do traditionally, have their big Easter Sunday lunches with family and friends. We encourage South Africans to actually try and do that anywhere else in the country, whether it's a picnic or a visit at a nearby restaurant or any restaurant around the country, wherever they're traveling or in their local areas. And it's basically just, again, encouraging South Africans to explore more of what the country has to offer. Travel Week, I just mentioned, it's our major campaign. It's what we like to call our Black Friday to the industry, where you get to put your most highly discounted deals up for sale. It's our Great South African Sale. It goes on for 1 week in September. It's part of our Tourism Month celebrations, and we do it every year in September. And it's really an opportunity for you to promote your travel packages, your deals, and they can be available anytime in the year ahead. So it's not about travel in September. You could be promoting your Easter packages. You could be using it to actually boost your lower season as well. So it's really an opportunity to boost whatever it is you want from a business perspective. It's there to help and work for your business. So that's Travel Week. And then our Give Me Some of That Short Left, which is coming up now as our summer campaign. Also, again, promoting here, you can take advantage and promote all of your summer travel deals, which for a lot of us goes way into March and even into April because we have such amazing weather in South Africa. This is our new platform, and I'm going to ask that we don't get feedback on this one because it was amazing. I'm loving it in comparison to the previous platform we had, but like anything, it's new, and there were some teething problems. We launched it with Travel Week. It's actually a South African tourism trade platform, so it's going to have a much bigger role to play than only our short-lived travel deals. It's going to work for the entire SA tourism business, so all of the different business units will be utilizing the platform. So you got in nice and early with Travel Week, and again, we are very grateful for the perseverance and the patience from all of you. We got a lot of positive feedback. We had a few niggles and a few issues that some of you experienced, and hopefully you're satisfied with any support and assistance we managed to give you on that front. But we are excited about it because the new platform is actually gives you so much more, because your deals that you actually add on the platform, and you've done it now for Travel Week, you can actually already start adding your deals for the summer campaign. And in fact, the deals you currently have, if you just want to edit, tweak, make some changes for summer, you're welcome to do so. You just log on back to your profile and you make whatever changes you need. So it's less work, but you're also able to add, take away, do whatever you want. And the best part of it is the deals that you have actively added on the platform that have gone live and you've received your booking inquiries, you can actually check the performance. Each of your deals are linked to our Google Analytics. So you can actually track and see how your deals have performed, which I think is awesome. We never had that previously. So please take advantage of that. And if you've got any questions regarding that, please drop us an email so that we can try and assist you accessing all of that information. So for those of you that haven't registered yet, please go ahead, because it's already time now to start adding your summer deals so that we can give you some exposure for the summer campaign. This is just a little Travel Week slide that snuck in. It's basically what we used for the Travel Week campaign. We do quite a lot for our trade partners like yourselves. We create a toolkit that you can actually apply and use on your own platforms. And then I did say I'll share some of the numbers from our Travel Week campaign. This is just the top 10 that is basically taken from our Google Analytics. And I mean, it's awesome. Hanneli, look at that number. Someone received 764 booking inquiries for one deal.
And
I mean,
that's interesting, Melanie, if I can just interrupt you quickly, because one of the questions we had was that the survey that was done by by Tourism Update recently, that 86% of readers voted that the short left campaign did not lead to a rise in bookings for their business. So it's interesting, the target market, I think that Tourism Update is talking to versus the content that you have.
Yes, definitely. It just doesn't add up, because we had the same conversation internally. If you look at, and these are analytics, we didn't make these up. So it comes directly from the site and what, exactly the activity that happened from consumers. And basically, what it is that short left can only provide a lead to our partners. We are not involved in any transactions. We don't get involved in bookings. So we basically bring the traveler to you. It's really up to the partner to convert those 764 inquiries to actual bookings. And I mean, even at a 30% conversion rate, if you want to say that, even looking at our conversion rate, you should still have ended up with at least 75 bookings, So we really rely on the partners to take what we're giving them and really turn it into real business, because that is the purpose of short left. And you can see these figures are, nothing to laugh at. These are real significant numbers here. And every year we get these. Last year we had someone with the top deal was over 900. So from our perspective, the campaign does work, but we've got to make it work better together. You know, you've got to take what we're giving you and really make it work for your business. So that was almost 10,500 leads that were generated. And, you know, there were almost 124 consumers looking at deals. 124 deals got views, which gives us that very good number of 9% conversion. It's above your global standard. So, I mean, from a performance perspective, I think it's worth us having a conversation with Tourism Update just to see who, maybe there's a little bit of work we need to do with, you know, the audience they're speaking to, so that we can, you know, I don't know, consider, address issues, see how we can improve. But I think these the numbers that need to be factored in when we have those conversations.
Agreed.
This is just a little picture. So you can see from wherever it is you operating from a provincial perspective, this is how our provinces perform. We'd really like to see some of our provinces do a lot more. We know there is product in every single province. So how the product owners are not choosing to participate. I mean, the campaign is free. You've seen what the numbers look like, the potential booking inquiries that you could actually get. So we need to actually see a lot more coming through. We've got some great performers in the Western Cape, Mpumalanga, KZN, Gauteng, and these are the provinces that generally really come to the party. So we want to see it happening. You know, it's an equal opportunity for everyone around the country. So please, you must take advantage of this. And that's us. We're available on all social media platforms. Anneli, I don't know, you said you had some questions. I've got the Travel Week ad. I mean, we don't have to play it, maybe if there's time. Oopsie. And that's that ends the insights and analytics from the domestic team.
Thank you so much. Yeah, love it. Thank you. I got lots of WhatsApps and messages saying from people saying that this is valuable information. So really appreciate that, Maylene and Melanie. I'm going to maybe just hold on with the questions that we received, give Tato his opportunity to chat quickly, to present to us, and then we can tackle all of the questions. Tato, my brother. There we go.
How are you?
Good, thanks. Floor is yours.
We are all here. The squad is here.
Thank you so much. Can I just ask, Melanie, can you just remove your, there we go, there, thank you, all done. Lovely, Tato. So you'll introduce us to your squad.
Yes, no, I was saying my squad is here. As you know, we are all fully stripped. So the South African tourism box are here. Yes, colleagues. First of all, thank you. My name is Tato Mutopeng. Is the screen visible?
Yes, we've got it. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. My name is Tato Mutopeng, as I was mentioning. I'm trying to check. Okay, cool. Let me see. Oh, yes. Right. So I'm from an organization, SATOVITO, the South African Township and Village Tourism Association. And we have 10 minutes to present the role of township and village tourism, villages in the tourism, in domestic tourism. Colleagues, as you are aware, this is what the NWTO is saying. So I thought that maybe let's start and understand the role of sustainable tourism and community tourism in the space, and the benefits of it, and how we can actually enhance and then participate and actually match up to the global level. A tourism environment is which benefits. It's actually explained as a tourism environment which benefits and engages local communities. This can also provide a source of livelihood, strengthen cultural identities, and spur entrepreneurial activities, thereby helping to prevent violence and conflict, to take root in and consolidate peace in post-conflict societies. I thought this was very important, given the the current state that we are in, given the history that the country comes from. And then, but again, what we thought is that we needed to just focus on a few pillars, which are three from today. We will be just focusing slightly on the economic pillar, social coherence pillar, and the environment pillar. Colleagues. Oh, by the way, I thought, you know what, looking at the presenters for today, it's very important that we actually make this presentation very smooth, relaxing, colorful, just like the beautiful ladies on the panel with me. Economic development role. This is just for us to explain what it means and the benefits of utilizing township and village tourism in the space. As you are aware, Maylene went through the benefits. I think even Melanie did the same. So what we're basically discussing here is the tourism, the township and village tourism market is actually in position to service the niche tourism markets. You know, your typical destination services and experiences. These experiences or this market is actually a variety of market. Normally, people will actually look at what's probably culture. There's quite a lot that actually speaks and to these niche markets and which the township and village tourism space can actually cater. Your religious tourism, heritage tourism, medical tourism, leisure and business. But the nice thing is that we are able to actually tap into the niche markets under economic development role. We are able to enhance and expand the product offerings of the country. So as you are aware, there was a slight decline in tourists visiting the country. And one of the reasons was the stale products that were on offer for some time. And it's very important that we actually start to enhance what we have to offer, both for the domestic market, the regional and the international market. I usually use this example when I talk to people and I say, one of the other reasons or the major reasons when you're talking, maybe let's say township economies, why spaza shops are failing is the matter is a point of not having enough products. So what happens just generally on consumers is that, you know, I'm not sure if ever we are aware of the banana effect. If ever you are not, if you are found hungry at a particular place for some time and you don't have food, we give you one banana, the banana tastes very nice, it's fulfilling and so forth. But after a time, if ever we keep on giving you the banana, you're actually gonna end up hating the banana and stop eating it. So it's very important that as a country, we enhance and we expand our product offerings for both the domestic and regional and international markets. This will actually assist us in tapping into the new market, the new travelers that are looking for those niche products and so forth. Very important again is in terms of sustainability to maintain the supply of domestic tourism products for the users. As you had mentioned earlier on, one of our speakers was talking about how most of the domestic travelers are actually for friends and family. But if ever you look at the environments within the townships and villages, you find that the infrastructure is not that advanced. So you are still looking at your B&Bs, your guest houses, and so forth. So this is where most of your, travelers will actually reside and so forth. And it's very important for us to maintain that supply within that space, and the township and village tourism space is able to do that. Job sustainability and creation. By expanding this value chain, this is what we are able to do as a country. The minute we are able to sustain the jobs that the current businesses are actually still holding, and also creating new jobs, it actually assists the country to become cleaner, safer, and so forth. But again, community participation and development, we spoke about this. I think we spoke about this in detail. This is actually a good opportunity to actually utilize tourism, especially domestic tourism, to pull in the local community to participate, and an opportunity for them to be developed in the space. Development in the space will actually mean economic, will actually also mean skills and so forth. But the nice thing about tourism is that you are actually promoting or selling most of your natural resources, even your skills, what you are saying, from your tour guides to your tour operators, the stories, the heritage, and so forth. So it's a very nice an easy to enter industry, and it's actually able to enhance community participation. Poverty alleviation, and the most important one in terms of the domestic market is retaining the rand circulation within the country. This is one of the most important things to make sure that the economy continues to be alive and to be sustained. So retaining the rand in the country and circulating it in the country, giving the domestic consumer more products to actually choose from will actually assist us in actually keeping the rand in the country, unlike them saving that money for them to go to the Bahamas and so forth. And our other point will be social cohesion. So our role from a SATOVITO perspective, more especially in developing these programs, is that we want to make sure that we create an environment that accepts different cultures, races, and beliefs. You want to be in a place where it's non-discriminative and so forth. So tourism is actually able to enhance that environment. Knowledge sharing and networking. We've actually seen with some of our members and a lot of our members that the more they share knowledge, the more they network, the more advanced they become. You find that, for instance, AI or other social issues or social discussions become presented by either foreign or other people who are migrating across the country. So you are able to get more information on what's happening and so forth. And that actually creates a better environment for the country. Facilitate community participation in indigenous unique tourism activities that are authentic to these destinations. Colleagues, it was very important for us to even mention this part because we all know that a lot of attractions actually reside in some of these spaces. Your KwaZulu-Natals, your Limpopos and so forth. We have a lot of beautiful offerings. And what it actually happens is that when we have these offerings, it actually assists the local community to actually package these offerings and sell them. And then by so doing, we are actually able to attract the market to those spaces and able to actually, what do you call I forget this, to commercialize our own township and village indigenous authentic offerings. Colleagues, I don't want to take too much of your time. I was given 10 minutes, but what we are doing as an organization again is that we are hosting the Township and Village Tourism Expo, which will be taking place at the Cradle of Humankind. This is where you will also be able to see what is it we are doing as an organization, where you will actually come and experience the different types of products coming from all the different types of provinces within the townships and villages. We are now also inviting you colleagues to say, bring your vibe, bring your culture, bring your style, bring your experiences. Let's all meet at a nice place, which is the World Heritage Site at the Cradle of Humankind, Maruping, on the 5th to the 6th of October, where we can now start to network, develop these products, get to see what we have to offer into these spaces, and start to prepare the future, or start to prepare these products for future tourists or visitors or travelers that will be coming into the country and in the current market within the country. With that said, I would like to thank Annelie. Thank Annelie to say, listen, we really appreciate that we are now transforming the space. We are building a new tourism, and this is a great start for us collaborating in a lot more other projects in developing tourism within the country. And yeah, thank you.
Great stuff. Thank you so much, Tatu. If you can stop share, and then we can take over the questions quickly. That's a much better picture of me than this face, so I think I should have just put that on. Thank you so much. I appreciate for everybody sticking around. Just quickly, Melanie, Maylene, and Tato, a few of the questions that we've received. Maylene, to your side, they would like to know whether the events framework can be shared. And I do know that SA Tourism actually also has an event strategy that they've developed. So hopefully we can actually do a webinar together like this one, where we speak specifically to events. Maylene, would that be possible?
Good afternoon. Thanks, Andy. The framework is an internal document at the moment. Sorry, I can't activate my video. I think I forgot to switch it off, so you've disabled it. So sorry for that. Yeah, so Hanley, I would suggest that maybe we do a follow-up because it's so important, you know, to deal with events. I think they're so catalytic and the impact can be massive. So unfortunately, I can't share the framework yet. And regarding the call for proposals, that was another question I had. With the impending Treasury budget cuts, we are just a little bit, you know, we're waiting to see if what projects we'll be allowed to continue with. But I would, you know, really love to have the idea of an events webinar. I think they're so catalytic and so pivotal in our, especially as we move into summer and the Christmas area and see how well our markets, etc., are doing. So yeah, unfortunately, I can't share it at the moment.
No
it's
problem.
an internal.
Yeah, I think what we will do is exactly like this webinar. We've got our next topic, so I'm very excited about that. I hope all of you also saw that we're doing a, artificial intelligence. I keep on wanting to say artificial insemination, not a good thing. To have the AI masterclass on the 16th of October. And then following that, we will liaise with our partners and see what we can do on the event side. So Maylene, there was another question. How do we contact you to be included in consideration for events, regional training and community integration and support in our communities? Everybody would love to sort of participate. And I know that sometimes it gets a little bit overwhelming if there's 1,000 people coming your way. But yeah, your feedback on that. I think Maylene is frozen or I'm frozen. Not 100% sure. There we go.
That's an interesting. I think I'm having signal issues.
It's fine. We've got you back
and see if it will. Okay. Sorry, Hanley, I lost you a bit there. Could you repeat the question for me?
Just around how do people get involved in, let me just go back to the question quickly. How do they contact you to be included for consideration for events, regional training and community integration? So what I was saying is that I know it's often quite overwhelming when you've got 1,000 people coming your way. But yeah, that's the question.
Okay, in terms of events, I think when we issue the call for proposal, all the details will be in there, and that's the only way, you know, people will have to respond. It will be an open call for a tender in 5 specific areas. And I've sort of mentioned most of the areas already, so I'm not going to, just in case they change along the way, but those are the predominant areas. In terms of regional integration, or, you know, we run various programs, webinars, even sessions in each provinces. And particularly, we have our domestic awareness campaigns. For example, we're having one in Hermanus coming up, where we invite stakeholders. So when we go around the country, the domestic tourism team does, you know, domestic activations and also education campaigns for and with communities. But, you know, please feel free to email me directly. I will share my email. Hanley has my email address.
But you can share it on chat.
So, yeah, so please share it. You know, I would be available on that. I'll share it on the chat now.
And I think I'd like to also add from that side, if we could have closer relationships, Maylene, for when these invitations come out. We've got our weekly SATSA newsletter that goes to everybody that are either a stakeholder or a contact in SATSA. So it's at least one place where you would be able to find sort of a collation of all of the different information. Melanie, you're up. I'm just going to read you the 3 questions we've got coming your way. So people would like to know how they can contribute to your surveys. Where can they find information about your current and past campaigns? And then I think the question that we had around the tourism update poll we have addressed, saying that there needs to be a little bit of a conversation between SA Tourism and Tourism Update just to check the markets. So Melanie gave us the stats on the success of the Shot Left campaign. And really, because it's free, you know, the only thing you can do is try it. But Melanie, just on the other 2, the surveys and the current and past campaigns.
The survey report that I did present on is a consumer survey. So that one's conducted by our internal research team. We call SEA. There's a whole process behind it, so I don't think there's any information that I'm able to share on that. It's a household individual interview meeting type survey that's conducted around the country. What was the other one, Hanali?
Your current and past campaigns, where can they find information about that?
They can contact me. They can use the email that I shared. And I'm happy to share information. We don't have campaign, performance or presentations available on the southafrica.net website, but we're happy to share that information.
Yeah. So Trevor, you can reach out to Melanie and probably with Tandiwe, who will support her in that work. Then an interesting question that we got, which is for all of our panelists, is travel and holiday schemes have worked very well in other countries. So the question is, why has it not been so successful in South Africa to assist the poor to enjoy the country as well? So Tato, Melanie, and Maylene, I don't know if any one of you wants to take that question.
I heard Maylene actually mention something quite interesting that the department is working on as far as incentives go for domestic travelers. But I think, Maylene, you said it's still a work in progress.
Yes, that's correct, Mel. I think two things. The first is the domestic tourism scheme, which is actually based on studies done in Portugal, Belgium, etc., where they are subsidized programs. So that is something that, we've done quite a lot of work on, and like I said, it's a work in progress. And second of all is the budget resort concept, where we want to develop all provincial and state-owned assets, and then, have them available to South Africans at affordable prices, because government can do that. So, we also had a conversation with the Department of Public Service and Administration around a campaign for public servants, very sort of building on the Sandparks, what is that program that Sandparks does?
Oh, the free week.
No, not even the free week. They have where you've got wildcard, that's it. But specifically for public servants, there's a number of us, and if we can save for your holiday over a year or 6 months or whatever, so that is also something that we're looking at. And obviously the office should be in geographically spread areas, less visited areas, our rural provinces, etc., so that we get feet to those areas. So it won't necessarily focus on, the Sun Cities. As I saw your 10,000 hits, Mel, they were mainly around Sun City.
Crazy.
But having been there for the conference, I second that, boy. I really second that. But our focus would be mainly then on rural areas, township areas, and less visited areas, and new products that are emerging.
Tato, anything that you want to add to that?
Yes, I think another delay would have been identifying these products, because there's actually a lot of these products that are there within the spaces, especially the townships and villages. It's just a matter of how do we take them out and actually expose them to the market. Remember, before money, you want to create desire to the tourist or to the traveler. So we still need to uproot those products and put them in the face of the consumers. Once you're able to do that, you're able to create desire. The student is able to save up money to say, I want to go to Johannesburg, I want to go to a particular place in the country. So it's about identifying them and putting them on the market, making sure that they, load on short left, making sure that we market them and so forth.
Mm. Thank you very much. So that was sort of all of the questions. I think the others, the contact details, etc., has been shared in the chat. Please remember that we will share a recording and the presentations that we have in our newsletter on Thursday. And then I'd like to end off with two things. Firstly, this is so great. One of the comments on the questions and answer is the fact that everybody seems to work in silos, and we really are trying to stop to do that. There's things that slip through the cracks all the time, but excited about the events webinar that's coming up to really see how we work together. Maylene and Melanie from private sector, we want to tell you that although you have to cut budgets, and we know it's going to be drastic, we are there to support you. Very excited about working together, doing things in a new way. We also have one of our members, Amro Tourism and Fly Toucan, who just mentioned that they have these lay-by packages, which I think is a wonderful way for operators to start getting involved in the domestic tourism industry, to market and to sort of tailor-make packages for that group. But all in all, very fantastic day, fantastic webinar. 90 people still in the room. We were able to retain quite a few people, so I'm very excited. Big thank you to the panelists and to all of the people that attended.
Thank you for the opportunity, Hanli, Mel, and Tato. Nice to see you again. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Bye.